So welcome to now the first Layer 2 working group, which is kind of emerging out of the Hydra working group, which is the central point of today's agenda. But in general, I'm happy to see you all here. I think a bit of a broader attendance. There's even more people on the Luma registration. We'll see. And we see how we go. Meanwhile, I did post a link already on the HackMD. And so feel free to jump in there, help me take notes. Maybe who's there? Yeah, attendees, also Hinsa. That makes a lot of sense. Also, if anything you want to add to the agenda, that's also the time about it. And I need to find that back in case. And that's basically most of the, yeah. So I think you should have all seen, or kind of you being here kind of is an indication that you've all seen that the recent move or migration of the working group becoming the Hydra working group. Oh no, sorry, this is too much stuff. And so this kind of makes the whole session a bit more open, although it was already before quite open and like anyone could join, right? We often had discussions about not only Hydra, but also related, especially very related protocols like Hydra SOA, but also about other new ideas, emerging ideas, like maybe MuGraph from Kenya and other things, right? So we had often also conversations about Midgard, and a topic which I will touch back on later a bit has been in general often interoperability and so on. Now, acknowledging this, I brought this up with the TSC, being a voting member there now. I wondered whether it would make sense to kind of migrate the Hydra working group to a Layer 2 working group. And it was created as an intersect working group ultimately, right? So that's why it's kind of has been, I guess, steered a bit through that, but was always a bit kind of, yeah, it can also happen and exist also in and by itself. You see the repo is already migrated from what was before the WG Hydra to now WG Layer 2. You see the charter, as it were, or as it still is, but something I would like to kind of run by all of you is I did rewrite these notable parts about this here, already initiate some kind of updates in this working group index on Intersect and also the Discord channel. The Luma calendar, as you might have seen, is also still one for the whole scaling stuff, whatever. But yeah, this working session is already going to be Layer 2 working sessions. And yeah, notably, I would like to introduce you briefly to what I believe a changed scope could be. But this is maybe up for discussion, and now for us all to kind of, anyone who is here is kind of being able to say, yeah, no, this I don't agree with, let's veto or whatnot. But ideally, we would have a way to move forward on the charter, and later I would like to maybe also find other interested people who would run these meetings a bit more consistently as I have been doing, and especially as I'm on a TSC now, maybe on a different time slot or just the same, and me being here less often. So let's do that. I'm not sure if you've seen the PR before, probably not. This is notably just a change in the charter, and let's go through it. If there is questions, just shoot. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Anyone can also interrupt me right away.
Yeah, I have a stupid question just to start them up.
Yeah.
Are we including partner chains as well on the working group?
Is a partner chain a Layer 2?
Is it? I thought
I'm
it
not sure
was.
what would you say? If you say it is, then of course. So
Awesome.
maybe, yeah, what's the definition of layer 2? That could be actually a good point to kind of say, what do we deem as layer 2, right? That's a good point.
Yeah. Usually I don't call it layer 2. I call it overlays network. It's
Mhm.
something that generates blocks/transactions and then submits that to another storage that's not its own.
Mhm.
So yeah, in my definition at least, it would be.
Yeah, it's not something which comprises the Cardano network itself, but in this case, something on top of it, right? So yeah, sidechains could also be layer 2s to that end, I would say. I'm not sure if there's a sidechain working group. If not, feel welcome here now. I think restricting that too much is not helpful, but as long as you can find interesting topics still with the people who happen to show up, I think then it's worthwhile. Maybe, yeah, on this purpose is kind of just cross-pollinating projects, kind of interfacing, reporting what's up, share knowledge in that sense, in very broader domain of, okay, maybe this one is as before, it was the Hydra take on it, right? It's about transaction processing. If it's about any kind of things building on top of layer 1, then I think it would be more inclusive to partner chains. As before, where it was really more about kind of speaking about features or related projects to Hydra, I think should be like more general to all kinds of layer 2 technology. And I think we have a few projects being penciled in for like the intersect budgets and these ways of funding work, right? Catalyst 2. So I think there's many candidates. I think we could still have, and I think the Hydra team is still open to have like open discussion and governance of the Hydra roadmap itself, but maybe there's more willing to do that. But this is basically all I've just amended here in terms of purpose. Why are we doing this? Anything somebody else wants to add of why they're here today and why they would want to see this group to success or continue otherwise? Okay, nothing groundbreaking. So maybe the what makes it a bit more concrete.
I can't see if you've written this, Sebastian. You probably have. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. And what was the comment again? I did write this.
Yes, I was just saying, I don't know if you've written this. You probably have.
This document, I did write that, yeah.
You just
It
dropped.
left for some reason. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think a good start, at least for me. I have been, to be honest, far a little bit from the working group since before it dropped. So what about a summary on what happened in Hydra in the past 6 months to a year? That would be awesome.
Yeah. Sharing news, sharing progress is actually what I believe is what we're doing here, right? And what we did in the past. And if you show up here and say, hey, by the way, what happened? Somebody from Hydra is here, they will gladly share that with you, bring it to the agenda. I think this should be the a venue where you can ask that, but maybe not only about Hydra now, right? So it's also, hey, what about Nutgard? How are you progressing? Or where can find more info about the status, right? It's just to meet the people of maybe various layer 2 projects.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
And so, but you would want to see the partner chains framework too also be covered by this, sounds like?
If they join here, yeah.
Should feel welcome, okay, yeah. Midnight? It's maybe already kind of too big otherwise. What else
Yeah,
you have here?
I think Midnight would be interesting, but I'm probably the only one that has not been following it at all. So I would
Mm.
imagine there are other people that just don't know more than what, let's say, Charles said about it.
So Noon's comment I just saw is, should we elevate the, like, kind of ensure interoperability across layer 2 technology as a purpose, really, right? Why this exists. It's basically, can make it a bit more concrete.
Yep.
Okay. Can we maybe just no diff? I want to have splits. Right. So should we maybe just write those things down into our HackMD here? Charter review. Scope review. All right. So maybe it should be like ensure interoperability and cross layer 2. Probably this is Phil here, by the way. That would be like really, I think, exciting here.
He's not, but I'm here. I could pretend to be Phil.
George is
yes,
excited
indeed.
about this. Right. I think if you kind of put this as a central why, that I think is good, right? And maybe this is just a bit more accurate here. But this could be very much a big part of our why. Going back to this one here briefly. So I didn't copy. The how it didn't change, maybe notably. So the what is kind of, yeah, before it was maybe very much focused on the Hydra features, roadmap, PRs even, hints and requesting, hey, can we fix this or what, right? These kinds of things, which is still open, I think. We can do that still, but it should be broader. So in general, like updates, sharing progress, successes, or challenges, but also discussing potential new standards or SIPs or problem statements is going to be, I think, very important to us, what we do here. And just general chatting about these projects, either through like the Catalyst proposals or longer term, like otherwise funded projects should be also what we make room for. So I think these two are in our HackMD now. Now, if we look otherwise, how do we work? It's still the same. Actually, it doesn't show. No. Whatever. Right. So, okay. No, this is the subsections actually. Sorry. Yeah. So we're still using just this GitHub repository where anyone can be part of. In the past, we did use kind of some membership and really make sure that people are there, but I think it's very open and it didn't really hold many votes, so membership is not really limited to merit or whatever. So it's more about, yeah, if you feel like wanting to edit the meeting notes there or whatever, feel free to join. So far, we have only produced meeting notes, discussions, and otherwise issues or PRs which have been referenced. Yeah, not even a SIP or CPS right now, but yeah, that could be other artifacts, right? Unless there is more suitable places, which would be, for example, a SIPs repo. Yeah, these are the meeting notes. We use HackMD for the in-meeting, writing it up, and the meeting notes would be collected here. So these meetings, the one you're here right now, happen every 2 weeks on Wednesday, now 12 UTC. 2 hours earlier than before is the one we have already today. I think finding another slot would demand a kind of a doodle or whatever, something like that. I'm not sure if we want to discuss it right now. In general, there is a calendar, and whoever is organizing these meetings, chair, secretary, like would need to have edit rights on these events. In terms of communication, there is the Intersect Discord server, which hosts now a working group layer 2 channel instead of Hydra, already renamed. And I think we are free to add more here. One other one, for example, is specific to Hydra, but the one in IOG. There is maybe one for whatever, Midgard, Starstream, Hydra. So I'm not sure. I think open PRs on anything you want to kind of mention here or refer to within these meetings. So membership is maybe it's been proven a bit of an overkill. And I'm not sure if we should still do this. The fact that I think this was a list on the charter, which kind of says who's a member, who's not, which is also reflected in the GitHub team, like if there is GitHub users. And we would kind of keep a record who's there or not there, and if consistently missing or just not showing up, then we just drop them from the list. But there's no issue really, right, for being here, not being here, or coming back in. So I'm not sure if that rigor is needed. I have some comment here, maybe. Yeah, this is outdated, Kenya. The list. So that's why it's maybe a bit overkill to collect it, and it helps in kind of advertising a bit, like why would you care about this group? Because you might want to talk to this or that guy on this and that project. So for that, it's maybe good, but yeah, this is why I also dropped this, how voting will be conducted, because there's nothing really to be voted on at the very moment here, at least that I'm aware of. Well, in the past, it was more, the group was created a year ago when it was kind of also intended to kind of could even propose roadmaps for like which are then can be tendered for, right, in RFPs or so processes. But the whole budgeting process changed, right, over the year, so kind of loosened things up a bit. Yeah, so I think that concludes the intro. Yeah, please go.
I was just going to say that I also think that voting is not very important in the situation that we are right now. I've seen that we just meet like once every 2 weeks or so, and that is not enough to actually get everyone with the context for everything, then in a good position to vote.
Yeah, so not entirely sure if we keep the member list or not, but I would say let's figure it out. All right, so is anyone feeling bad about merging this and then just evolving the charter going forward? Maybe adding this one line to the Y and redetailing a bit the membership stuff in another PR. Okay, any veto would need to raise the hand now. Okay, no inaction. Inaction being approval. All right, so let me then just merge this. Oh, there is a comment. And he wanted to join. But he's not here, right? So Alex. Okay. Yeah, so there is, I think the open source committee has a bit of a bit of a view on life cycle, seemingly. But we have somebody from the OSC here, right? Somebody said they're from the OSC. Lucas, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you feel like in the charter of the working group? Is it kind of, or anything you want to add or kind of hint us to in terms of from the
I don't have anything from the top of my mind right now, to be honest. I just feel like it's great that you guys are broadening it from Hydra to L2s, defining things. I think this is a very productive group, but yeah, I can't really put my finger on anything to add at the time.
Okay.
Since you mentioned it, I will try to promote this group in the OSC calls. See if we start having more people from our committee coming over, and knowing a bit what you guys are up to.
Okay. So now we have at least an honest README here, and yeah. So maybe the comments from Alex or the addition of interoperability being central. We'll open another PR for that, and basically right. So it's actually only good. That concludes basically the first agenda item. Can I take this? Oh yeah. And yeah, I had actually another agenda item for, yeah, kind of calling out that I would be super glad if somebody else could share and help chairing this. In fact, Alex actually commented on this PR, wanted or is interested in doing that. I believe you mentioned to me. And we had Noon help out in the past as the team lead on Hydra, and Perry, although Perry also seemingly missed the shift in time, so it's a bit unlucky. So let me then maybe just summarize. Basically, I think we are in need of new chair or secretary, people running those meetings. So if anyone is interested, I think we'll be considering that, of course, definitely, or feel free to just take over or just help me out and take over after a while. And that is basically that agenda item. Somebody right now want to kind of say, oh yeah, that sounds good. Any nominations?
If you don't find anyone else, I can help you with it. I'm not sure I can take it over by myself, but I can help.
Okay.
What about
Yeah.
just sending in an AI bot for meeting notes and transcripts?
Yeah, I think we're currently transcribing with Gemini. Which I think can be
Honestly,
done
I
much
think that's
more
sufficient.
effectively.
I don't think we necessarily need to have like a human summary of the AI summary. If we just have the accessible recording / AI transcript and maybe even the AI summary, I think that might be sufficient for most people.
So that's true. And we're currently double documenting, right? This one and the transcript, which is currently being created. So it goes full circle. I think anyone doing that is free to do that. I think as long as it ends up in the repo as a digestible meeting note you can read up on, like where access is guaranteed in that way, basically, right? Doesn't help you all to have it in my Google Drive, whatever, because I'm owning this meeting right now, I guess. So why not, as long as the resulting meeting notes are available? So I'm definitely not going to dictate anyone who wants willing to help in running these meetings and not using it, right?
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll take so basically to take a nomination running off to this working group layer 2 channel on Discord. And we'll have a definite maybe discussion about this next week. Seemingly was a bit too ad hoc. I mean, it's multiple things at the same time. And then maybe next item, let me just reorganize this because Hinson, you brought something cool. Now let me get something out of the way, which is something I promised Pi to share with people here. And I think he has posted it, not here. So many stuff. But here. So maybe, so a message from Sunday, basically cross-posting this a bit. But as you might have noticed or known or heard in the past, that they've been doing a transaction streaming plugin. So enhancing Hydra to actually have event syncs and source. You can easily get the things happening in a head, notably also the snapshots created, which is basically the Hydra blocks in any form as you want. And this has been done through a Catalyst proposal. And they're having a closing webinar tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So if you ever wondered or want to see what's possible there, I think it's a demo also and a bit of a Q&A. But there is a closing session to be advocated. Let me just copy this over. And I actually asked him to have this be posted here too. All right. So yeah, it's not the best to put it into a calendar, but maybe doable. And so much about this item here. As this transaction plugin. I think this was the project, Fund 10 even. Just to give you an idea. Good. Maybe something more engaging, and we have Hinson from Delta DeFi here. Maybe you want to share some of your recent findings.
Yep. We have some issues. That's the core purpose of us joining today. But firstly, I will share some excitement, like it's real quick. This latest staging environment of us. Like right now, when you sign in with a wallet, you could place trade with this kind of speed. Perhaps is something that's, yeah, a little bit of foolish element that, yeah, people might feel. Like under the hood, everything is calling some API to build and submit transactions. Of course, you have to sign. But the gist is very Binance API like people don't really have to understand anything Cardano to place a programmatic trade on Delta DeFi. So yeah, there's a very quick demo on the product itself. We try to wrap it into something public testnet next week or next 2 weeks. So this is the current status. So yeah, any comments or quick thing before I jump into issues?
Maybe you wanna. The issues are about Hydra, right? So there is Hydra at
Yep.
play here. We can give a quick reminder to people on how you're aiming to using state channels in this product.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
so-
can you also explain, just give an overview of what it is and how it is different? Because it is the first time that I'm hearing of it. So
Yeah. So we are building a spot order exchange that using Hydra to settle everything. And then this is all the information is with Hydra at the moment. And we do quite a lot of tricks behind the scene. Like for example, you don't have to side wallet and anything. Those stuff are stated everything here. Like for example, why we don't have to side transaction, we put everything in the public documentation. Because under the hood, there is a programmatic key encrypted by user trading password that we are using to cite those transactions to place trade, etc. But the gist is we try to build something which is instant, and then you could place trade and cancel trade literally cost free, and also we allow very easy to integrate programmatic access. Like you could use the API keys with, of course, your encrypted keys or your mnemonics to cite the transaction to place trade in the any trading box that you want to build. Yeah, so that's the stuff that we're building. But under the hood, there's when you deposit, it's like we batch something and then commit into Hydra. Withdrawal is that we also batch something and then decommit from Hydras for users to deposit in and withdraw out of it. Yeah, so it's a brief intro.
Does this map to one Hydra head, this particular
Yep.
instrument here which you have open?
We are mapped to one custom Hydra head network where we customize quite a lot of PP, for example, mean mutation, etc., to allow this thing from happening.
So people would basically use this this Hydra head, which is not basically somewhat decentralized, but quite centralized for the time of their trading, but they can bring something in and out when
Exactly.
going out of the market here.
Yep, exactly. So
So
our
impressions of
project,
the product
because
before we go to the problems.
so maybe then we jump straight to the problem. I stopped sharing. So first issues that we have found so far as we try to stress test the system, and then we found out that after we like placing a few hundreds of transactions, the disk size bumped into something like 10 gigabytes, and it caused us a little bit of concern because we could essentially place those trades programmatically within a few seconds, like bumping those transactions into the disk. And this size, we're thinking about whether there's any way to mitigate, and we want to understand a little bit more about the reason behind. Because one potential background causing the issue is we have quite a lot of UTXO in each snapshots, like maybe up to tens of thousands UTXOs in each snapshots, and then we have quite a lot of transaction, also maybe multiple kind of redundant snapshots storing in our system. This is the biggest concern so far we have, like when this been going to public testnet or production.
No, Sasha, you want to take this maybe? So if I rephrase, it's about the disk storage, which is lots in use and probably related to like a big UTXO stage they have in this Hydra head particularly. We can't hear you. No, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. So remote worker Noon has some issues. Okay. Anyone else? Sasha, then Franco, I can take it too, but I want to also not, I mean, I want you to be able to answer all these questions too. Are you there, Franco?
Not really. Not from my side.
Didn't prepare well.
Sorry, I kind of zoned off a little bit. What was the question? The question is like, why is so much data being generated on disk for the transaction value that Deltafi has?
Yeah, kind of. And more importantly, we want to figure out a way to mitigate the too quickly escalating this usage, because we're thinking about how much to provision in production or public testing.
So you're
Well,
facing
logically, when, you know, the type of data that you're generating is, well, the UTXO set itself, the transactions, right? Plus the snapshots, right, that are being signed, and I guess have to be stored. I don't remember what the retention policy is for Hydra in terms of the snapshots and them being stored, but yeah. And then also there's a bunch of log messages, right? Because all the peers are sending each other messages and all that gets logged and stuff. And I think the logs are fairly verbose, like in terms of just like the amount of activity. I don't know, Sebastian, can that be tuned?
yeah, so not the logging in per se, but it's a, so basically your intuition, George, is exactly what comes at play here, right? I mean, if you put all the inefficiencies of just redundant logs, storing the UTXO set twice, once in a snapshot, once in the transaction, which kind of creates the outputs. So the outputs are at least a couple times referenced, right? I think it goes even worse, right? Basically, the snapshots always, what we put onto disk is always the whole UTXO set, right?
Wait, sorry. Do you store the entire UTXO set of every snapshot?
Yeah.
You're not even like diffing them or anything?
No. So the
okay,
retention, this is why it explains its quadratic growth, right? On depending on the transactions, if all of them are creating new outputs. Now, you say an important thing, right? The retention requirements for Hydra is one snapshot, the latest. You need to know, no else, right? The other snapshots you don't need. In fact, you will never need them because you can always contest with the latest, and this is the one which really needed. So
well, you might need them because if you somehow miss your turn during dispute resolution, right? And somehow dispute resolution reaches a different snapshot than the one that you stored, then you might not be able to do the fan out transaction.
If you are risking, if it's possible that you can miss your turn in contention, you have different problems altogether, because then you're not safe. Everybody could cheat you, right? Kind of, this is, but yeah, this is maybe a practical consequence, but that shouldn't even be the case. Now, practically, what you will see, Hinson, is that the state file on Hydra will be growing a lot. There can be many things can be done there. We can reduce the logging. We can reduce the way we store things to have it less redundant. We can store it differently because right now it's just JSON line by line. But something we did recently, which you can directly use, is you can rotate this event store. So the state which is put on this can be rotated away. And you can say, okay, after how many, it's done plain by events. So can I say every 100,000 events happening in the Hydra system. So this is everything like transaction, scene, snapshot requested, snapshot confirmed, or having the full signatures, plus some other stuff. All of these events you can kind of bound to a limited window which you're interested in, and then you can stash away the old stuff or even throw it away completely, like remove it. at very least
I
you
see.
can compress it and put it onto slower disks.
Okay.
So this is this event log rotation feature, which we just released with 0.22.
I see.
And can point you to the docs.
I just want to ask, does that include snapshots? Because I would assume that snapshots is the biggest thing here, because we have like hundreds and hundreds of UTXOs in each snapshot.
Yeah, so this is about the state. The whole state of the Hydra node is it's an event source application, so it's all the events happening, and we rotate the events. So this includes the snapshots. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Yeah. I know we always need at least one, but yeah, as long as it gets rotated, I would assume that it saves a lot of space for us.
So can somebody find the docs? Actually, so this is the PR. Then there is an issue, which is this one, I think, which was what we fixed. I know for sure it's kind of rotate after persistence, minus persistence rotate after something, but I can't find it in the configuration docs. So maybe we forgot to document it. So there could be. But yeah, maybe with Franco or no one can find that. Yeah. Yeah, no. So seems like I can't point you to the config, unfortunately, because that is one configuration which is not documented. Yet the release notes speak about it, and we use it for the BitLike Glacier drop. Because there is also lots and lots of transactions flowing through the system. So yeah, hints. I hope this gives you a hint, at least,
Yep.
this issue here.
Yes.
And I think the latest release has it. The release notes should mention it, but I'm afraid we didn't update the documentation, which is
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We try to dig into it in coming 2 weeks.
So just to summarize, it is possible in Hydra to kind of prune away all the old snapshots and just keep only the latest one?
yes.
Okay, perfect.
So a more intelligent storage would do that. I mean, what we do is basically we just compact the event stream, right? Which doesn't really look into like the semantics of the protocol, saying, okay, you're gonna keep one snapshot. But that works. Of course, storing it in a more space-efficient format on disk is another option.
Yeah, I'm exploring some options in that front for Hydrazone right now. Because yeah, we also did the sort of naive thing of like, yeah, let's just store every snapshot as we were developing the consensus. But now I'm thinking of like maybe optimizing the storage a little bit more, trying not to store the UTXO set snapshots for every block, but instead having like the current snapshot in a sense, or basically all the UTXOs that have been created like since some point in time and have been spent since. And then having an event source that allows us to move back and forwards in time and sort of derive what the UTXO would have looked like at a particular block, right? Which might give a little bit better storage. Like, so yeah, that's what we're looking into right now.
Slapping everything into a database will also give you better storage there, right? Just putting it into more of a relational situation.
Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole story of like kind of this UTXO HD thing, right? Instead of keeping everything in memory, you store the stuff in a way on disk that you don't need to have it all the time. Yeah, but in terms of protocol, the latest is fine. And if you have this way of closing the head with like whatever you believe is the latest state, you can forget the whole history, right? If you want for For audit purposes, all the transactions would be enough of the history, which you can also keep separately. But just for the operation of the Hydra node, which means to hold up the Hydra head protocol and be an agent for that ultimately, the latest snapshot is enough. And any way of our persistence, if you wrote it after every event, you can do that. It's very inefficient. But if you wrote it after like a fixed size of events, we know that basically the node always has this fixed amount of storage it keeps, it needs to understand, and you will just you will just lose the history in that sense, because the node itself doesn't give you all the history anymore if you ask it to on the API. It only knows when it rotated.
Yep. Just one more question before I jump into the next is for that particular persistent rotate after argument. If I pass it, is it the behavior be like automatically pruning some old snapshot after certain time frame? Is it?
Branko, you want to take it? You just put a comment and you implemented it actually.
Sorry, what?
You want to answer? You implemented it?
What is the question then?
Like for the arguments of persistent rotate after, is it the behavior be like after a certain period, the old snapshot will be automatically pruning and then?
No, nothing gets pruned, nothing gets lost. The current state file gets rotated, which means a new file containing all the events that has been created at that time will be stored in a state file, which is suffixed, with the latest event ID. And then the current state file remains the same, and a checkpoint event is appended to the file as the very first event, so that enhances the restart time of the node. And this checkpoint event basically is the aggregation of all the previous history, contains all the relevant information up to that point in time. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Then I actually have one more follow-up.
Yeah.
How should we configure like auto pruning or removing obsoleted or old snapshot? Because we're thinking about how to deploy the instance in particular.
For that reason, we introduce a server output that clients should be, hooked on. So for clients to trigger backups or pruning or that stuff, you might have to listen to the socket, take the checkpoint event output that you're going to be, like a notification for clients to act upon. That's pretty much how we decided to move on this.
There is an easier way even. So you will see the node, when you use this flag, will produce like state files with like numbers after it. These are old state files with up to this event, right? And you can just run in your like system, like wherever Hydra nodes are deployed in your setup. So everyone running a Hydra node can just run a cron job of taking these event files. And first, maybe the last couple of ones are compressed, and up to some point, then maybe you don't have space anymore on the disk, and then you remove even the older ones, right? So it's more of an operational concern there. But basically, these files are then not written to it anymore. You can just pick them up and throw them away or put them somewhere else. And maybe you want to request a rotate after time feature, because this makes more sense in terms of, okay, you can take the logs of yesterday, right? And you just keep them for another day or so, but not for longer, and so on.
I see. Sounds good. I think at this point we have sufficient hints to continue trying. I will, maybe give some feedback after a few weeks, I think.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I assume you can hear me now, by the way.
Yes.
Yep.
Amazing.
Sounds good.
I just wanted to say one other thing that we're aware of, and feel free to complain, but like we definitely emit way too many logs, like the etcd logs and stuff like that is like way too many. So I think that's something we also need to reduce. And maybe it won't have as big an impact, but it still should make it a bit easier.
Sounds good.
Do you have any data on the like proportion of disk storage, for like a typical usage pattern or something of Hydra? Like how much of the disk space is going towards all these UTXO sets in the, in the snapshots? How much is going towards the event source, all the consensus events, all that stuff, etcd logs, message logs, various other kinds of things? Because that one might give you an idea of what's the most pressing thing that needs to be optimized away.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I don't think we do. I think, like, honestly, I think it was all going fine until etcd started emitting like millions and billions of logs. And I think, but I also think it's a good point about the, maybe like a diff on the UTXO. But yeah, in short, no kind of breakdown of which logs are taking up the most room. I just know that the log files take up a lot of space now.
Might be a good idea to measure that stuff. Maybe even you could work with the Delphi team to measure how it is in their use case, because I think their measurements will be a little bit more real world than the stuff that you would get from your benchmarks, right?
Yep, we are kind of stress testing the software a little bit.
Each of the use case will yield more real world information, right? So the midnight glacier drop tests and everything leading up to that now also have lots and lots of improvements, right? Coming.
Hinton, if you did feel compelled to write a little JQ hack to just give us the top level tag, if you partitioned your logs by the top level tag, then that honestly might be enough to tell us which one goes where. Sebastian, you hate it.
Yeah,
the one liner.
It depends a bit, yeah. So yeah, we can have a look and help there. The top level one will be, it's a tag from this log on this timestamp, which is all the same.
No, I mean the second top level one.
Yeah. The devil is in the details there.
Yeah. Yep. I think we could bring this offline, the separate discussion. That sounds good. And not wasting everyone's time, I very quickly move to the next two things. I will combine into somewhat like feature requests if I didn't miss anything. First thing is I'm not aware of it. Is there any HTTP submit transaction API on Hydra? Because the snapshot confirm tag coming back is a little bit too slow to our use case. Like it takes the average of the block difference. Like currently we default is 1 second. It takes 500 milliseconds. And it's a little bit too slow to our use case. So we're thinking about, is there any instant feedback about the transaction is valid? So this comes to the second part of the feature request is the notice recent release. The transaction hash information is removed from the TS valid tag. This is a little bit confusing to us because most of the time we should a lot of transaction in the same seconds. So we are not sure which transaction is valid coming back from the node in response because it's mixing across different messages. So we want to have in short, we want to find something that could be instantly validating from the node that the transaction is valid. So we're not exactly waiting for the snapshot to confirm and then we could return the message to the traders that the trade confirms. So this is one thing that we're playing around.
So there were two things, right? One, a submission of layer 2 transactions through HTTP instead of through the WebSocket, which is also an HTTP connection, but stays open. You want to have individual HTTP requests for layer 2 submission. I think that is a fair ask. Open a PR, like an issue request. Open a PR implemented. No, open an issue. I think that's just fine. And the other question I didn't really get. So transaction valid. So there's in Hydra we have two outputs. One is when you submit a transaction to it. The first is the transaction kind of accepted to the ledger, like the local mempool if you want so. which is the transaction valid, which happens when either your node submits it or somebody else submits it to your node. You will see
yeah.
transaction valid. And the other message, you will see the transaction mentioned and is only in the snapshot confirmed. So you will see it mentioned by ID in there. And if we want to know, okay, is your transaction now like in the chain, right? In this layer 2 snapshot chain, then you would need to process these and find the transaction ID in there. And you're now thinking whether it would be easy to kind of have a transaction confirmed output, which kind of makes that easier for you. Is this the case?
Yeah,
No,
I
I
think just include that the transaction hash in the TS valid tab, so we could map ping
Yeah.
back to the exact transaction, which one is valid.
I think they just
But-
want that like just to know that the transaction submitted was valid, because maybe it could be invalid. It doesn't necessarily need to know if it's accepted, like confirmed yet.
Yep.
They just want to make sure that the transaction was written correctly. Is that right, Hinson? You want that feedback.
Yep.
You don't want to promise people that it's included in the snapshot, but you want to say like, we're trying. And that's very
The
fair.
user story is we could have a very pretty high confidence that the trade could go through before the snapshot confirm everything, since we kind of control environment.
I'm not sure if there's any guarantee if it's, I mean, there is no guarantee if it's not in a snapshot confirmed.
Yeah,
If
I
it's
wouldn't-
just valid, it's not really a guarantee. There's nothing, you should not
Yeah.
really kind of indicate that
It's not
done.
a guarantee, but higher confidence level in general.
And I hope the latency between transaction valid and snapshot confirmed is really within milliseconds in Hydra. If not, then you're actually having a deployment which is very much like Cardano, right?
Yeah.
Because in Cardano you have like seconds, 20 seconds maybe between valid, like in the mempool and in the first block.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. So Hinson, right now, how long does it typically take for you to get a snapshot confirmed?
500 milliseconds.
500 milliseconds? How many peers?
4 peers, I think we use. Yeah.
And the peers are, where are they kind of located? Is it because
Actually,
of
they
like
are
network
just
latency
next to
or?
each other. In our testing,
it's
they're
not
just exactly
latency.
next to each other's.
So I'm kind of puzzled a little bit why it takes 500 milliseconds.
Our
Probably because-
hypothesis is the block distance is 1 second. Then on average, it's like have to wait for the block to confirm.
So it would be
Sorry,
interesting.
you're saying it takes that long to validate the block?
Like we use the default distance, like 1 second, 1 block.
No. So first, there is no blocks in Hydra. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay.
No, but for snapshot, I mean, in the end, so network latency is the first thing George asked for, which makes sense, right? The farther distance, the further messages need to travel. Now, then there may be latency between when a snapshot is requested to when it's actually processed by everyone. But that shouldn't also be too much, because we try to do snapshot every individual transaction, and this is then also tried and happening. And then next is maybe the validation of the transaction is just long. Depends what did you do with the protocol parameters. Is it scripts being big or not? But also affecting the whole thing is the state of the ledger, because it can also be that some parts, especially how we keep the UTXO state in Hydra, is a bit unoptimized, and so things can be like they're tripping things off there. But so we didn't do that many experiments with very big ledger states with like hundreds of thousands, 100,000s of UTXOs. We know for sure it's very fast for like Hydra Doom-like setups where we have like very small state, right? But rapid transactions.
I see.
And yeah, 500 milliseconds is maybe a bit long. Actually, should be lower. And we're happy to investigate with you on that one, maybe. If you,
Yeah,
How many UTXOs do you typically have in your ledger, Hinson?
I think 5 digits. Like, yeah, typically
Okay.
5 digits.
100K or 10K.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, which is a use case we don't really optimize for right now, right? Especially
Yeah.
as there is this kind of very big, maybe known issue, right? Which is we should have partial fan out for this use case. because otherwise you have no guarantee that you can actually close at any point in time if you're one of these operators.
Yeah.
That's very important. But the transaction processing performance, 500 milliseconds, seems a bit high, but could be related to the 100K UTXO state.
Yeah. That sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah.
100K is like the amount of orders that you expect to be open at any given time in a single Hydra head.
Amount of orders plus amount of users plus how many API or instruction placed by users, like we assume is like 10 for now. So we create quite a lot of empty UTXO because of the ledger rules, like zero Lovelace, no information, just as input for users to perfectly concurrent to build different intent to trade or withdraw or anything.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Mhm. Makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, very exciting use case, I think. I think what I can indicate is the Hydra team is happy to work with you on making this a success.
Sounds
And
good.
I think the things mentioned in this meeting so far should get you further, and feel free to also use the any of these communication channels, layer 2 ones, but also the one and the Ask Hydra specifically, right?
Yep.
To reach the team.
That
But
sounds
you have
By
good.
the way, I should mention, even though this is focused on Hydra and the issues that you're running into with Hydra, it's still useful for the other projects, because as we're building those projects, we also want to avoid some of the same problems appearing for users like you that would
Yep.
be using those new systems, right? So it's useful for us too.
It's a very productive day for me. I have a lot of notes going back to the team. And yeah. All good for me then.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a bit Hydra focused now in the end, but I think a good first layer 2. I hope you felt welcome, George. Sebastian, I see you here too. Maybe Starstream is considered an L2 too. And feel free to chime in. Oh, Alex is here. No, we moved the meeting 1 hour earlier. Yeah, so maybe then concluding, I think this can be a good start of getting us into the same room and talking on stuff relevant to all of us, ideally.
Yeah, I mean, for Starstream, we're still building quite a few different things in parallel, so there's a lot of tracks going on. One of the main things we are working on, though, is being able to compare UTXO sets in constant time, so that if you have multiple parties, you can compare UTXO sets and do it in a way where updates are also constant time. So when UTXO stream in, there's just a constant amount of work that needs to be done, as opposed to Merkle trees, which are logarithmic. The reason we do this is because, as you probably have experienced, once these Merkle trees get very big, these updates just slow down. And this is already bad in the traditional sense, but in the ZK sense, these hash operations you have to do to hash a Merkle tree get like 10,000 times slower. So Merkle trees are just a no-go. So we've been working on this research stream. We know how it will be done. And we have somebody working on the implementation. But it's a bit tricky.
I'd be very curious to learn more in a future session.
Yeah. So kind of constant time UTXO operations, right? Is basically the...
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds super hard, but super fancy also, if that's possible.
Yeah, it's interestingly enough, it's old technique from the 90s that has resurfaced in the ZK setting and under the name memory consistency checks. And there's quite a few papers that have improved on the initial results in the past like 2 years or so, primarily pioneered by Microsoft Research, who does a lot of ZK work. So we're trying to implement these papers, but because they've had really good results, there's a lot of ZK companies trying different variations of the same algorithm. So there's like within the past 2 years, it's been like a dozen papers on this topic.
So that could be really a kind of, I mean, we all are sharing the fate of wanting to processing UTXOs faster in layer 2s, right? And which are then, we get rid of some of the other otherwise limiting factors like global decentralization, for example, being very big open protocols like the layer 1. Sometimes we are more closed, so that it kind of produces more pressure on the things we want to process, and certainly in CK settings. So that is actually very interesting, I think, topic affecting any layer 2 ultimately, which is about UTXOs.
Yeah, I'll
100%.
it's on my list of things to make a video about at some point.
Mhm.
A long list of
Does this time of day work for you, Sebastian? Like
yeah,
Wednesday?
this is fine.
Yeah, so maybe we meet in 2 weeks and have this as a. I mean, it's similar to what Hinson said, right? Why is the validation slow, right? Okay, it's logarithmic complexity on the number of the size of the UTXOs. That's usually what the ledger performance is, right? And we can have some real-world benchmarks from the Cardano ledger and the Haskell one, but maybe then some more prototype and now groundbreaking research as you've been doing, maybe. That sounds very cool. Intriguing. With that, I would say let's look for in 2 weeks and maybe talk about that a bit more. And looking forward to see you there. Thanks.
Thanks. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Guys.
Bye
See ya.
bye.
Bye, guys.